Hello and welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be predicting the Dallas Stars season and what it what it looks like. What it looks like this season is is it looks like they have a pretty good roster here, despite losing. People forget they just lost to the Stanley. People just they forget that they lost to the Stanley Cup champions in Game 7, where they got destroyed and yet made it to double overtime somehow, and all all somehow and all they needed was a lucky bounce to get by St. Louis, and who knows if they win the Stanley Cup. They were well, I'll tell you this. Bishop was that good in the playoffs. Bishop was that good in the playoffs because Bishop was that good in the playoffs. Bishop Bishop was a stud in that Game 7, over 50 saves, but he couldn't save their life because they were garbage in that Game 7. And it's too bad because they played great. They played a great series against the St. Louis Blues and fell in 7 because St. Louis was like St. Louis St. Louis did not play their best hockey in that series, but they played good enough to win easily. Easily. St. Louis. St. Louis, obviously, they were amazing in Game 7, but Bishop was the only thing standing in their way. They eventually won the game. Dallas obviously knows they're not good enough to win a cup yet. Making the playoffs was a goal in 2019. I honestly did not know who they were. Like after missing the playoffs 2 years in a row after 2016, it's like this offense is good. This defense, I guess, is decent. Their goaltending was out. And remember, Bishop before 2018-2019 he was a good goalie. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't great. His his Tampa days, it looked like it was his Tampa days are over. Like it looked like his Tampa days looked like they were over. It's because his Tampa days were like he was a, when he was a really good goalie when he played for the when he played for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then because he goes to Dallas because Tampa believes that they're gonna get Vasilevsky has the better starter, which has happened as right now. He's the better goaltender, but is Bishop that far off? No, it's not that far off. Let's look at the roster here. Let's look at the roster here and see. I'm going to talk about all the improvements they made in the offseason. Here are the improvements for Tampa. I mean, Dallas. I am, yeah, just not editing that out. Just whatever. Um, here's Tyler Seguin. Tyler Seguin. He's obviously, I'd say Tyler Seguin, the best forward on the team. I would say yes, Tyler Seguin. Tyler Seguin is definitely the best. I would say he's the best forward on Stars. I think it's 9.8 million a year. I just thought it was 9.5, but just reading off a couple things here, and of course they have Jamie Benn, their captain, Jamie Benn, which is an older player. He's 30 years old. He's getting older. Is he really gonna put up? Is he really gonna Is he gonna put up that many points? I don't know about that. Never gonna play with our players. So, in addition, quite honestly, this might be the most underrated edition of the year. He would, because this edition with Joe Pavelski, this Jesus old player, he's probably overpaid right now, but he's still he consistently has great seasons with San Jose despite his age, and yes, $7 million a year might not be what he's worth, but he is worth that. I'll tell you that he is worth the $7 million, even though he's old. You don't want an old player to make that much money, but he is that good of a player, and you want a player like that to produce that much. And even if he just produces 20 goals and 50 points, that's still good for Dallas. It's a pickup, and an unfortunate pickup, but might be good for Dallas. This might be a great pickup for Dallas. Just I'm not a fan of this player, but he might be a good pickup for Dallas because I don't hate on Dallas at all. I don't hate on many teams, but I do not hate on Dallas. And they picked up Corey Perry for a year. I believe it is a year, which is a good like they have some past players, and Corey Perry adding Corey Perry might make Dallas a hated team because maybe because he can like cheap shot players, but he usually does it from behind. He's not as bad as Marchand, but like he's still kind of like that because he always does things behind the scenes, which is what he's good at. I guess Kadri's similar to Corey Perry, but if he can find his game again offensively, like if he finds his game, if he finds his game like in the like at least 20, if he can like just like Pavelski, if he can just like Pavelski, if he can just produce maybe 20 goals and 40 points, I think that's good for Perry. I don't think he needs to score 50 to 60 points to make his year successful. I mean, he's an older player, 34 years old, $1.5 million contract. That's a good contract. I don't think he's really a bad player. These are again the pickups they've made in the offseason, which I think are good pickups. Then we got a team. I mean, we got good players on the team, right? You got Alex Andrew, which is a 33-year-old. He's a good. If he can score if he scores 20, I mean, he doesn't have to score 20 goals for Dallas, but if he does, that's a great bonus. 25. I think 25 is a good run. I think if he scores 25, that's fine for Dallas. Well, my expectations are Radulov scores 25 goals. If he doesn't, it's a failure in goals because he's a great player. Not an elite. He's not an elite player, but I would say he's in the great mix of players on a tier list. He'd be great because he can score goals. In Montreal, they can get a contract. He scored a lot of goals with the Montreal Canadiens. And Montreal again didn't have many players. They didn't have many, and the history, like the centers. They didn't really have any centers. Radulov scored like 30 goals a year, 2017 for Montreal, and couldn't get a contract done. And in Dallas, and had a great season. He's arguably had three great seasons with like Radulov. He's had 3 great seasons with the Dallas Stars, but only made the playoffs once because their teams. Well, their goaltending was just always. Their goaltending the first 2 years was abysmal, but Radulov still produced. And you have Radek Faska. Radek Faska's a decent player. Rope, and this is why I need to watch Dallas much more because in the playoffs there's a player that I fell in love with, and his name is Rope Hintz. Rope Hintz is a player that basically can do as a forward. He can do everything defensively, and 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 in the playoffs, he broke out offensively like no one else in the playoffs, which was kind of insane. He's kind of the hero of Dallas in the playoffs, quite honestly. He's that good. And there's other guys, obviously. I mean, there's studs as well in the play. I mean, so there's studs on the team as well on defense, because their defense is pretty damn good. I'd say, they got great. They got a great. They got a great They got a great defensive defenseman in Lindell, which was famous for his diving in the playoffs. I was not a fan of that. Great diving for the playoffs. He was better acting than Leonardo DiCaprio was in The Revenant, which I'll give him that. And then John, you have I think at times a defensive reliability, but mostly good. John Klingberg, maybe John Klingberg, maybe a Norris one day. John Klingberg, because he might be a Norris type defenseman one day, but right now, and he's almost probably. I mean, still a few years. He almost right. Still has a few years, but he might soon in a few years be out of his prime. So maybe for him to get a Norris would be now. And yes, I'm probably overrating him, but he can't. If Burns can get a Norris while being, not great defensively, Klingberg can. He's better defensively than Burns, and he can put up the points. If he could just put up more, like I guess there's other numbers that make you win a Norris, but if you don't put up points, then probably not going to win it, honestly. Let's say you're like, you can be a plus 35 and not have 50 points. You're not even in it, or something like a defenseman like Ekholm should probably win it because he was so good defensively, and his points were good too. Like Ekholm had great points, but so that's my rant about Klingberg and the Norris. I hate the Norris Trophy because it's mostly about points, which again I hate because you only win because of points usually. The last two winners though I've liked because Hedman and Giordano are actually great two-way defensemen. Burns is not. Carlson is actually a good defenseman. He can be a reliability, yes, but when he plays his two-way game, he's almost the best two-way defenseman since like Lidstrom or Bork. That's how good Carlson can be. But here are the other defensemen. Jamie Lesiak's pretty good. Not great. Jamie Lesiak, he's a big body type guy. I'm not gonna go Pierre Maguire and say all this stuff, but Roman Polak's not a great defenseman, but he can also have a lot of toughness. So, a couple tough, big body type defensemen on Dallas. So they have the toughness on that blue line as well. And again, Polak can really make a lot of mistakes though. Like Polak's not a great defenseman, but he's a decent one. Then they have Sakara. They have Honka. Honka's like, yeah, he's a young guy. Honka might be maybe playing more this year. And they have we finally talk about there's a stud that basically everyone knows unless you're not a fan. Maro Heiskanen was so good in 20. It was his rookie. He had a rookie season of playing ridiculous minutes. If I watched the Dallas game last season, it was because of this guy, the new potentially the new next, and I know Sebastian Aho looks like the next great Finnish star, and there are tons of great Finnish stars. There are tons. Maro Heiskanen might be the next great superstar Finnish player that we have. The great thing about Dallas is they have two really young Finnish studs. Rope Hintz. I think Rope Hintz. I think he's going to break out to like 50 points and 20 goals. That's what I think for him. For Miro Heiskanen is just a stud on that. He already is one of their best defensemen, if not their best. I'm not gonna say he's better than Klingberg yet, but it took a long time for Klingberg to play like he is, and one year of Miro Heiskanen, and he's already almost as good as Dahlin. And yes, he's not as good as Dahlin. Dahlin's on Buffalo and scored like 40 points, so he's insane. But Miro Heiskanen is not far off from Rasmus Dahlin. He is really not. He is not far off from being as good as Dahlin, and that's insane. Dahlin has proved that he's not a fluke in Sweden and everything. Miro Heiskanen proved he's the real deal for Dallas, and he's basically their future. The next superstar for Dallas is Miro Heiskanen. Of course, you have the two stud goalies. Hudobin had a great year as a backup. He had a great year, but I don't think he's gonna follow that up. And I really don't think he's gonna follow that up because I still think he could have a good year, but I can't see him having back-to-back great years as a backup because he can't. He just can't have a year like that again, in my opinion. So, what is my prediction for the Dallas Stars? What is my prediction? I predict the Dallas Stars will finish in the Central. Obviously, the way I'm talking, obviously in the playoffs, but it won't even be top 3 in their division. And yet they'll have a great. I say they'll probably break 100 points, but yet they won't break top 3 in the Central. I think they definitely have better than the Jets. They have a few more points than the Jets, a few more wins, and get third in Central. That's my prediction is they get third. Prediction is third in Central. I don't know how they're actually going to do in the playoffs. They got some improvements, which is great. Not really as good as the other three. I will be predicting, in my opinion, no. And that's a lot to say. But those other teams that are pretty. I just see two other. I just see 3 other teams that are better than the Dallas Stars in the Central, and 3 other teams. There's also 3 other. There's also 3 other teams. There's also 3 on other teams that I think are better in the Pacific than the Dallas Stars. So Dallas practically is a wild card team, in my opinion, because the West is going to be way better. I still think the Pacific's going to be pretty weak, but I think the West is going to be really tough. I think almost every team in the West that makes playoffs might be 100 points because it's that good. In my opinion, I think Dallas will break 100 points, and yet our wildcard team because of the West or the Central, or the West, yeah, the Central, the West. It's that good. The Central, the West, the Central is that good, or whatever. Nashville and all those teams are just that good. And so picking Dallas, the West is going to be good too. The Central, the West, the Central, the West. The West is going to be damn good, and so that's what my prediction is. And hope you enjoyed watching video about my prediction for the Dallas Stars. And talk to you later in my next video. Please subscribe if you haven't. Talk to you later.